Hey everybody, what's up? It's Aslan and it's Michael Langston. Special guest appearance here on Wake Up Warchant, as well as a standalone video on YouTube. Michael kind enough to get in front of the camera. Long weekend for our guy out there. Everybody, show some appreciation by doing what, Michael? Can they do to show
Oh,
appreciation?
definitely hit the like button. We want you to visit Warchant all the time, but we also want you to hit the like button. So definitely do that.
Yeah. Everything Michael's about to tell us has probably already been over at the PRB, everybody. So if you're a subscriber and you're like, what's going on here? It's okay. It's okay. And if you're not a subscriber, you could have found out about all of this hours and hours ago. So let's get to it then, Michael. Last junior day of this early part of the year. We're about to embark on what they call a dead period from February 5th to March 3rd. Make some noise, everybody. Um, I think that's literally they can't do anything. It's a period of time where it is not permissible to make in-person contacts or evaluations on or off the campus
Yep.
or to permit official or unofficial visits by student athletes. So dead means dead, but this weekend wasn't dead in Tallahassee for that last junior
Mm.
day. Koby Howard, let's talk about that guy. Chaminade, they produced some dudes. Is he the next one in line?
Yeah, he's definitely the next in line. He's originally played at Pensacola Catholic, then transferred to Western High School out of the Davie, Florida, and then now this year he's going to be at Chaminade, which is makes sense if you're in South Florida. That's the team you want to play for because Chaminade's the top program around. He's never, I think, been around a lot of other talented guys, so I'm curious to see just how much he's going to blow up because of how good he is. He's so elite that wherever he goes, he's been the top guy, and certainly they just finished off having Jeremiah Smith and JoJo Trader was in that offense. Now they bring in a guy that's just a game breaker in Kobe, who I love to death. I think he's one of the most electrifying slot receivers or just receivers in general around the country. Big time wheels, great separation on routes. He's a guy that they've coveted at FSU for a very long time. This is a guy that's probably visited FSU more than any place. And cool story. The FSU was his first offer, and in addition to that, I think he broke his leg as a sophomore. And immediately when he did that, and that was when his recruitment was just starting to really take off. FSU was the first team to actually, talk to him, communicate with him, say, "Nah, dude, that don't phase us. We want you." So, no matter, I mean, whether it's been good or bad things that have happened to him, FSU seems to be the mainstay, always in there. He loves FSU a lot. There's other schools heavily certainly involved, but I think FSU has been, kind of the one that's has paced the field, as you would say, in this recruitment. And I feel he gave a little bit more of a stronger feel after this visit. Came out, sporting the FSU hat. Says now he's closer to a decision. So I think in his mind he kind of has an idea who it is, and I think based on the intel, tend to lean towards FSU being that place. I think he loves the offense. He loves what the production on the field looks like from FSU. That's not a concern. He knows FSU is a national contender. He definitely knows what FSU does with the receivers. He mentioned Keon and Johnny Wilson, and I like the kid's mindset of confidence where he's like, if I go there, I want to be one of the greatest. He isn't like, hey, I want to go in there and make an impact. He's like, I want to leave. By the time I leave, that'll be one of the greatest that played there. So I like the swagger. I like the confidence. I like the confidence in that Mike has in him as far as his ability and skill, but also as a person that fits their locker room. So I think there's a lot of boxes checked off certainly for FSU, and I feel pretty good about kind of where they sit in this recruitment with Kobe Howard.
They've got him listed just a shade under 6 foot. They got him listed at 5'11 and a half, 175. As Michael said, was playing in Pensacola, now down there in South Florida.
Hmm.
Michael, I don't know in terms of like a timeline or how many other visits you think he's going to take. Is he a guy that's going to want to take some officials during a season to figure out where he wants to go, or do you have any feel for that?
I think he's going to decide before the officials are there. Now I'm not saying he won't take officials after he commits. I could see that happening, but overall, I think decision-wise, I think he's pretty close that he's going to do it before his season starts. I think probably sometime in that spring, I would say. So I don't think the officials really matter too much, and he just seemed like a kid that kind of knew what he was going to do. when you got kind of the finality of it felt like, yeah, hey, I'm pretty sure on what I'm gonna do, where I'm gonna be. So overall, we'll wait and see what that is. But like I said, the body language, the tea leaves seem to, in the intel seems to point to FSU. Everything I've gotten from his recruitment at this point.
Well, when you have an offense made for playmakers and you're a national title contender, you host top end talent. Koby Howard, one of the great ones on campus. But in terms of rankings, hard to top Caleb Cunningham out of Ackerman,
Yep.
Mississippi, Choctaw County, listed at 6'3, 185, a number 11 overall prospect in the entire nation for this cycle. As folks see on their screen in the video, talking to you about you on the podcast, folks. The in-state schools, as well as Alabama, LSU, listed here on the RPM here. Always
Hmm.
tough to pull a kid out of Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi, Michael.
Telling you.
What sort of impact do you think this past weekend, Junior Day, had for Mike Norvell and company when it came to Caleb Cunningham?
Yeah, he wasn't originally going to visit FSU till March, but he really wanted to see Coach Norvell. He's very high on Coach Norvell. There's a strong connection. Probably one of the quickest visits you'll ever see visit on Sunday, because really the whole thing was he's going back home. He visited Florida, so Florida's a place he hadn't seen before. FSU he's seen pretty in depth, but he really wanted to be around Coach Norvell. There's a connection there that's just really personal and strong, and had a really good meeting with him. Talked about the development of FSU has receivers. He's not. I mean, he is not even remotely concerned if FSU will get him to the next level as far as the NFL. So there was a clear connection of, I think, production, but also personal relationships. Because I think early on when FSU started recruiting him, he actually named FSU probably I think his leader early in that recruitment. He kind of backed off that, and then Mississippi State's also come on strong, so that's another team that's up there. You mentioned a bunch of places that he'll see in the spring, but FSU's always had the personal relationship that's really strong. But I think the product is now caught up to that. You mentioned stuff that Keon did, Johnny Wilson's done, just over their passing game with just what it looks like. He even said he put some fight for you, FSU. He said they should have been in the national championship. I think they should have been there. I think talking about the snub. So he's noticing what they're doing. He's certainly noticing what they're what they get when the receivers get there, the type of development that they're getting. That certainly caught his attention. So I think they're very strongly in the mix. He's actually going to come back. You can circle this date, guys. March 23rd. That's the Legacy Weekend. That's the Legacy Weekend visit. I think that's going to be one of their best weekends as far as hosting top recruits. If you remember, they had it last year where that was where they broke in the brick for Jermaine Johnson. So I think it's Jameis Winston was there. I think it's a big event. That they have some of their top elite prospects for that event. And he will be there, and that will be a multiple day visit. So he'll get the full 9 yards of campus tour, being around the team, more the players, which I think is the next thing that he hasn't really done. He's visited, he knows these coaches well. Great connection with Dugan's, great connection with a lot of these coaches on the staff, including several guys that are from the Mississippi area, like Austin Tucker that's on their support staff. So there's a lot of it isn't just Mike Norvell. It's a team thing. So he will get more time to spend with those guys. And then I think the most important thing is having him around the players. I mean, because you can talk about it, but the players are going to tell you the truth, straightforward, everything, the good and bad, whatever. And I think him being around the players, I think will help FSU make a pretty big shift in moving upward in that recruitment. But I still think right now, even right now, I think they're definitely one of the main players. Mentioned that he's going to narrow his list down the top six. I do not expect a decision until probably late into the fall. You could tell he wants to go through the official visit process, and but he will narrow it to six. I think FSU will be a part of that six for sure, in my opinion. But I think that March 23rd weekend is the one I got circled that I think is when FSU can really make a strong move for Caleb.
Choctaw County Class 4A out in Mississippi. They play 7 classifications of football, but they've had some real good runs up there in Ackerman. Michael, does he live up to the billing for you? I mean, as I pull up some of his film again,
Yeah, oh yeah,
I mean, these guys don't look to be the biggest and the strongest that he's going up against, but he just looks like he
yeah,
would belong on any football field in any high school in
yeah,
America.
yeah. He's one of the best receivers in the country. Obviously, for those that track my Friday night rewind, I do every Friday. Um, he is like almost averaging like around 80 a game. Um, I mean, he can play in the slot. You can put him the outside. I think Kobe Howard, who we talked about earlier, is more built for, in my opinion, the slot seems to fit him the best. I think this is a kid that you could put inside, outside, and man, it's what he does after the catch, Aslan, that really just I love. Just there's certain guys that either they get separation of routes or their hands or their speed. I mean, this guy's got a little combination of all those things. And but man, what excites me is when I watch him after the catch. I mean, he just does some really electric things. There's a lot of great receivers at FSU's recruiting. From Jamie French to Dalen McClutchin out of Texas, who I love, 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 love his talent. Kobe Howard, and then certainly this cat is incredible. So he's definitely one of the most coveted receivers they're after, and it shows the way they've recruited him. Getting him on campus, even as sophomore, freshman, I think it's a big deal. If you're going to get a Mississippi, Alabama kid, you got to have a relationship that goes deep, and I think FSU certainly has that. And then March 23rd, I think is going to be D-Day as far as FSU making that move, and then we'll kind of see where the pecking order is from there.
Hmm. Well, let's move it closer to the football, then closer to the line of scrimmage, the actual line of scrimmage. Michael, offensive lineman, always at a premium for Florida State. Guys like Cardi Smith, is that how we pronounce? Is it Carday?
It's actually Carday Smith. That's how you
Carday.
pronounce it, Carday.
There we go.
Um, he was very good yesterday when we interviewed Junior Day, and I mean, we've seen that's what Alex Atkins when he gets his hooks on him and the relationship. I think you see a lot of strength. He actually visited FSU last year for a game, so with his team, so he's very familiar with FSU. Certainly, I asked him directly, just give me one thought about FSU. He's like, I just love FSU a lot. I love them, and so he could not stop beaming and raving about this program. So I think they're a major factor. I think certainly Auburn's in there in the RPM, but I think FSU is starting to surge in this recruitment. This is one of the guys I wanted to highlight because I feel like there was some positivity about kind of where FSU sits, after the visit of just from FSU's perspective of kind of where they sit, and I think they like where they stand. And it's a guy that they've spent a lot of time with as far as putting in time for relationship, and then also the fit with their program of how he would fit in what they do. Um, Plays with a mean streak on pass pro, and then as you saw on the run, certainly can get some pancakes for breakfast if you want him out there. He'll lay them down. But overall, I think he's the guy that they're pretty high on. I don't think he was originally probably on my top features on the hot board, but he will be on my next one. Certainly a guy I feel like they want and they like, and they put and the interest is mutual. So I think certainly FSU is pretty high on his list. Not a kid that just elaborates a long time. He's just very direct with his answers, like he knows what he wants to say. But I think certainly FSU is on his mind. That's a school that I would say probably in the top three with him, and just got to keep building off of it. But once again, this kid's another one that farther down the road as far as a decision. I think it's more about the official visits in the summer or fall, and that's kind of where. And he did say he's coming back for in March for to watch a practice, so that's always a positive. So I think he's a guy they've coveted, and he's reciprocating that feeling about FSU, and you're getting the good body language that you're looking for of interest level of how serious it is, and I think he's pretty serious about FSU.
6'6", 300 pounds, out of Mobile out there in Alabama. So good pedigree, good stats, good measurables. Before we go, Michael, we got to talk about somebody on defense, and why not linebacker? Because
Yeah.
everybody loves linebacker. Gavin Nix, I think originally from the Orlando area, now down at IMG Academy in Bradenton, 6 foot even, listed at 226. What kind of backer is he as a 4-star guy? Is he
hmm
someone that a thumper kind of guy, or is he one of these new age sideline to sideline guys that are in high demand?
I think he's more of a thumper, big guy, but also I think he's a guy you can put at all three of those positions at linebacker. He feels comfortable doing it. That's kind of I know what FSU is sold of he's a guy that feels comfortable in coverage, but on college probably more inside than outside. You know when you watch him, and we had a lot of great interviews on Saturday, but he was probably one of my favorites because he was so in depth about just everything, very detailed about so one kid I've heard that really talked about the stability at FSU with their coaching staff really seemed to move the needle with him when he talked about Norvell staying at FSU and not going to Alabama. I think the fact that their staff has been pretty consistent throughout the years, and two, the trajectory of where they're going. I think he talked about that a lot, where he sees that they're a national top team, and that's really caught his attention. And I think they're very high on his list. I don't, he didn't really give a top group, but I'd say FSU, Florida are both teams that I heard frequently around his recruitment. Miami is mentioned. There's other schools, but I think this is the first time I've heard in an interview where he really talked about the trajectory of the team, and talk about stability within the staff. We know Florida's had some changes over there. We know Miami has recently gone through some changes as well and adding guys, and then other schools have too. But FSU's been the one constant. He wants to major in communications. Certainly, FSU has a very good pedigree with that, and so I think a lot of it you felt like, okay, this sounds like an FSU type guy. He's looking for everything. Loves Shannon, loves the knowledge that Randy Shannon has with the position. He's noticed a lot of what they've done with Kalen DeLoach and Tatum Bethune, and he just likes the freedom that they give their linebackers to do a lot of different things. And he feels, he say felt really comfortable when he's around FSU, and certainly expect him to take an official visit to FSU. Definitely expect him to take another visit in the spring. So I think it's a program that's trending up for him, and I think this visit really seemed to have a strong impression on him, both on the field and off the field. With Gavin, I think it was more just. I think when you go to FSU, there's a lot more non-football stuff than maybe a lot of other schools do, and so that seemed to resonate a lot with him. So I think certainly they're going to be a school that's going to be a threat in that recruitment.
All right. Plenty more over at the PRB. We'll let you get to vacation, but just one last thing on the way out, though, Michael. Just they've had elite camps, they've
Hmm.
had junior days, they've had talent on campus here the last 2-3 years. Any different vibe for you overall? Feeling maybe not even so much vibe, but just level of talent overall. Is this a little bit of a different junior day these last 3 weekends in Tallahassee?
I think it's been a little higher in talent, but I think the Caleb Cunningham like visit to on Sunday kind of spoke a lot about where this FSU is at as a program. They just want to visit, even if it's just stopping by. So you see a lot of kids that are just dropping by that they want to be around, the coach. That's why I say March is really big for FSU because that's spring practice. This is the most buzz I've gotten from recruits and their families about going to see an FSU practice, not game, practice, as Alan Everson likes to say, just wanting to be there, wanting to see what is that like. I mean, there's so much high buzz about what FSU's doing on the field in games, and so I think these kids want to be around this stuff, and that's definitely a big push up from what they have been. Where it was more like, hey, can they do it? Can they be, can they get more consistency? It's like now they're there. It's like that's the impression I get from recruits. So it's definitely there's a lot of buzz about them. There's a lot of excitement, and I think the big thing that's really I think taking them to another level is the development of these positions that they play. They see the development. It's different. You could say development. It's another thing when kids can see it with their own eyes of what the players doing at their certain positions. So I think FSU's certainly accomplishing that, and I think now it's just about the consistency of doing it year in, year out, every year. We've seen it for 2 years now. can you see it for like 6 or 7 years? And so I think that's kind of what kids are looking for. But overall, I don't think the excitement's been any higher than than I can remember since maybe the Jimbo Fisher days of where you expect FSU to win 10 or 11 games. I think that's the expectation every year that this team's going to be in the playoff.
Hmm. Hey, Michael, put that phone on Do Not Disturb and enjoy yourself, man.
You got it, man.
He's Michael Langston giving us the latest. Always check out the PRB. Him and Matt got you guys covered. Thanks again, Michael. Love you, buddy.
You got it, bud.